I've been having troubles with my computer this week lately. Not sure what it is, but anyhow, hopefully things will go smoothly during the stream. And welcome to my photo editing stream, where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I do my best to edit them for you using DxO Photolab 9. And I am an affiliate for DxO, so if you'd like to support the channel and you haven't purchased DxO products before, I have my affiliate links down below where you can get a 15% discount using the coupon code for my viewers here. So that helps out a lot. And as always, you can buy me a coffee or become a member to support the live streams that I do here 3 or 4 times a week. And so I have looks like 7 images today, so a little bit of lighter load than usual, which is fine. Then I can spend a little more time on each. And the editing that I do here is really to showcase the tools with DxO Photolab 9 and not a critique in any way. These are your photos, your vision. I'm just going to edit them the way uh, that I would if they were my own photos, and maybe try to extrapolate a little bit of what you are trying to do, and offer some tips if I think there's things that I would do differently. So let me know in the comments that you can see and hear me okay, and we'll get right into it. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right, so we'll start. First one here is from Larry Robach, looks like. Wow, it's a really interesting building here. Feels like New Mexico or somewhere out in that area. And also I noticed that this is a .ori file, so that means this is the 20 megapixel raw file of a high-res shot image. So hopefully you meant to send me the 20 megapixel and not the high-res version, but in any case, we shot with an OM1 Mark II, 12 to 45 f4 Pro. Say my favorite lens right now. I use that quite a bit myself now on my OM3, which it's an awesome, awesome lens. All right, and I'll walk you through my workflow to help you get started if you've already have DxO Photolab 9 or if you're thinking about it. But this workflow is pretty generic to most photo editing. First thing I do is I kind of look at the overall exposure to see if I want to raise or lower the exposure right away. And then I look at white balance and composition. Um, if I need to crop or straighten the horizon, things like that. And everything looks pretty good here. Looks like it's just maybe slightly off. It's hard to tell with these, older buildings like this or buildings of this structure, because sometimes the lines aren't always straight, right? But generally, the windows and doors should be straight, and I feel like they're just slanted a little bit on this side. So there's a very slight skewing distortion here, and maybe the horizon as well is just slightly off. So usually, I can correct that very quickly with just a perspective correction. And yeah, that might be a bit too much. So I'm going to back that off a bit, maybe to about here, to something that looks about right. And let's turn on the crop for automatic and see where we're at there. Okay, very good. I'm going to just tilt the horizon just a tiny bit so that it feels right. Okay, and then a slight crop. I'm always looking at the edges here. Uh, like this window is kind of just halfway, so do I expand a little bit to capture that? Or maybe let me turn off the perspective and just tilt the horizon a bit more. No, it needs a little bit, just a little. So maybe right there. I'm trying to think about the balance here. So I think that's good. And generally, I like to follow rule of thirds, where we have some foreground, something in the midground, and then the background over here. It's just a little bit out of balance for me in terms of, what's here and what's in the background. So what I might do is just crop in actually to try to balance that a little more for my taste. Maybe, maybe there. Yeah, that feels about right. Okay, so we have some really nice lighting. And whenever I do architectural photography, I know you don't always have the opportunity, but I try to always capture the front entrance. And because that's usually the most elaborate in the building, because that's where people walk in, that's the first thing they see. And also is, I feel like, a little bit more inviting when you look at an image that has a front door or main front entrance. In this situation, this scene is more about the lighting and the landscape, and not so much about this building, believe it or not. The building is almost there just to kind of give you a feel for the mood or the atmosphere. Because I don't feel like this image is about the building itself, but just the kind of mood and the time of day and everything at this particular scene. So I'm not sure. What I might do is try to accentuate some of the greens here a little bit more, and then fix some of the haze back here or reduce the haze and make it feel just a little bit more like sunset or sunrise, depending, what time of day it is. Uh, so I'm thinking about white balance overall. Let me try a different color profile. That looks pretty good, the vivid and the natural. The vibrant is a little bit too green in this case. That's a little too orangey. So I think maybe natural. I can try portrait. Oh, that's interesting. But let's go with just the natural color profile. And maybe maybe just add a little bit more light to the left side and a little stronger shadows here. So I'm just going to use some local control points and just bring a little bit more light right there. So I'll just do a linear push like this. And then maybe just warm it up a bit as well. Okay. Uh, that feels pretty good. And then I'm going to make a new control point, and I just want to accentuate some of the shadows. So I'm going to be very, very tight on the luma masking. A little bit less, right about there. And then chroma just a little tighter. And I'm just going to start with the blacks to pull the shadows in. And then we'll go to the shadows. And whenever I work with the selective tone, I always like to try to keep a straight line. Uh, I feel like that gives the most natural kind of look. And then push the highlights a bit. And if the midtones and highlights won't have too much effect because again, I masked mostly just the shadows. Maybe a little bit less black. Okay, I'm gonna just do a quick, yeah, that feels good. All right, and then I'm gonna tone down the yellow over here. Maybe go back to that mask and check the white balance again. Let me just go up about 500. Generally, I wasn't paying attention, but generally, I like to stay, whenever I make local white balance adjustments, I try to keep it within 500 Kelvin. Because if I do too much, it'll start to, kind of look unnatural, right? So, uh, just around 500 Kelvin, and then I'm going to accentuate the windows a bit now. So again, I'll just make a new mask with some control points. And I don't have to be too precise here, but I want to kind of get the frames. I'm going to tighten up the Luma mask again just a bit. There we go. Yeah, a little bit tighter. A little bit on the, okay. So I'm just going to make a subtle adjustment to these. So it doesn't have to be, the masking doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to start with the highlights and a little push in the midtones, like so. All right. And then on the landscape, I want to push the greens a little bit. So I'll make another control point, new mask. And these greens are actually very strong yellows. It's just a very slight hint of green. I kind of like the weeds down here. I might work with this separately. There's a little sidewalk here as well. Let's accentuate that. We'll come back to that. Let's tighten up the chroma masking. And chroma masking is color masking. So let's go down here and just shift it just a little bit to the greens. Okay. And then the sidewalk, or it looks like there's a little path here. We'll just give a little push down here in the shadows, maybe. Okay. And then a little bit of warmth as well. And I'm going to push the highlights. Like that. All right, very good. And I think that's it. Uh, Not a lot to be done there. I think I hate to go back to the crop, but let me try just a little bit thinner crop. Right about there. Actually, maybe I can keep that window. Okay. Let me go back to this mask. Okay, I think that's it. Slight pull on the oranges. Let me just select that. Maybe expand that out a bit. Okay, so let's just do a basic side by side here. All right, so yeah, not much difference there, right? I think the image was already very well composed and exposure was good. All I did was kind of accentuate what was already there and added a little bit more light from the left side. And then also I wanted to kind of accentuate this little path leading into the building. So at least there's something here because now you can kind of see this path. Maybe it goes to these stairs. Uh, Kind of weird though. These stairs don't go to anything. They just kind of walk up here, if those are stairs. And we'll do just a side by side or a slider. Not much difference, but I think that looks a little bit better, a little more punch. It's just a little bit flat here. And then this is just gives a little more punch, I think. Okay, very good. Let's see. We have this is a really interesting bus. I'm debating if I'm going to go full silhouette or try to bring these wheels into the image. Uh, so let me apply just a basic preset first. I should have done that on the last image, but all a basic preset does is noise reduction and lens corrections, optical corrections. So you may have noticed a slight, you know, distortion correction there or lens correction. The other thing is the horizon feels like it's a bit off, but maybe not. I think the way the clouds are makes you feel like the horizon's a bit off. So I'm just going to brighten the exposure just to see what might be in the scene. So I have a blue bus, a little bit of a step here. It's a curb, and then a building back here, very brightly lit. Hmm. And composition wise, maybe not include any of that down there. I think the horizon's fine, but let me just. Okay, it was a little bit off. All right, I think I'll silhouette. I didn't like that blue color very much. So maybe I can use the auto masking tool. I don't really need too much up there. Away from the. All right, good enough. Okay, then I'm going to go down here. Let's do control line. Just start somewhere in here. Oh, I need a new one. Sorry, new mask. Okay, so I'll move the dropper up here. Give the sky just a little more definition. Okay, and then maybe temper the highlight there just a tiny bit. Just, I'll just use a brush and just temper the highlights a bit. Okay, let's export that. Uh, Back to the original, suffix, turn off resizing. All of that looks good. And once that's done exporting, we can compare to the original. The first export is always a little bit slow. I can check on its progress here. So we'll see. There we go. That's not bad. 20 seconds, give or take. So let's reset this. We'll do a side by side. So I think I just basically I simplified the image and brought out the details, and then silhouette the bus, and that's all I needed to do. Um, so I think, and the crop just to make it a little bit longer. We didn't need all of this sky, and we certainly didn't need all of this. It was just so dark. I didn't see any point to raise the colors or the brightness. Plus, the bus was a blue color that I didn't feel like really complemented, these reds and purples here. Possibly with the blue up here, but uh, it's kind of an uphill battle color-wise. So I think this works pretty well. So if we just do a split view, there's the original, and I think I think the edit came out very nice, and we certainly cleaned up a lot of the noise. If we get in very tight, you can see uh, we did a pretty good job with that. Okay, very very nice picture, William. And let's see, we have one here. So let's try high ISO in the dark. All right, not sure who that is, but that's cool. So, just so you know, I can toggle the panels hitting the F9 key on my keyboard, and I'm using a Windows computer, but it's F9 on my computer to toggle the side panels. So we have a street scene. There's a band, not a band, but there's a guy playing their guitar, and everyone seems very engaged, as if they were there primarily to watch this guy play, because I don't see people really sitting around tables. So some sort of venue, or this guy's a regular. He always shows up on that exact spot, and someone decided to take advantage of that and chairs out. This line of cars. So okay, so what I want to do is, uh, I think exposure-wise, we just need to brighten in this area a little bit, and then try to find some motivation for the light. The light's kind of coming behind people, the best I can tell, but then it's facing this person. So I think we'll put most of the light right here and then fade it back a little bit. Maybe temper the lighting out here. Uh, and composition wise, let me just put a basic preset first. And it's very important in DxO to apply all your geometry and optical corrections before you start really doing any kind of adjustments. Things will just go smoother. Every now and then I'll see a glitch if I do it the other way around, where the mask or something doesn't line up with the new geometry. So I always do it this way first. Okay, let me just do a quick local adjustment on the band here, or on this guy. I'm gonna use one. All right, let's just do a little bit more light there. Okay. I just want to get a feel for the scene. What's going on over here? Not much. So I think I'll let me think about the overall composition again. Uh, I think possibly a vertical, because if I come in, think about that a second, because the audience is not really framing the artist too well. Let me see. And if I go this way, I feel like they would just be too small in the frame. Because everybody over here, yeah. Let me do a vertical. And then I'll think about if I do front and center, no, it's not good balance. If I come over here, that feels about right. Okay. All right, let me go back to the lighting and just going to temper the highlights on that side if it's at all possible. They're kind of clipped already. So it's okay. And then I don't know if white balance will help if I actually key it to something. Ooh, it's way off. I just don't know what the color of anything is in this. This sign has got to be white. I tend to like the white balance to be um, more or less back to a natural white. But there's a lot of green in here. So I think I like that for white balance, but I'm going to, whoops. I'm going to see if I can temper some of the greens. Okay. All right, we're almost there. Uh, the other option, instead of trying to temper these weird colors, because there's a mix of lighting, I think black and white might be the better way to go. I just don't like this mix of white balances because we have street lamps that are just really jacking up. And then, the street lamps are like this bluish color. Then we have sort of these tungstens up in the buildings. And then there's something else causing this green tint. All right, that looks good. Now let's selectively add some brightening again. Let me go back to this mask. Okay. Then one more. So I'm going to just add a vignette. Okay, let me go back to this guy here. This light over here is really strong. Let me see. I don't know if I just do a straight pull. Really want the background to kind of just fade off. Might be too strong as part of my line here. So one more quick mask. Just down in here. Just need a little motivation. No, not that one. All right. I think I'll call it there. So let me export that. That all looks good. And then I'll go into the chat section. So typically I like to do 2 or 3 edits and then go to the chat. If you have any questions about anything I did here, feel free to ask them. Question, comments, whatever. Um, okay, that looks good. So let's reset that, do it side by side. All right, so pretty dramatic difference, right? Um, we went from sort of this very busy, chaotic scene to, I feel like in the black and white, you can definitely now see that everybody is here to watch uh, this guy playing, right? And in this image here, I didn't even notice this guy at first. I was just kind of all over in here. And then it led me to this guy, but it wasn't sort of the main subject. Whereas in this image here, I feel like this is more of the main subject. Should have tempered the lighting a little bit here. But I did want to have a little bit of the back of their heads lit up. Uh, not quite as bright as the front of his face, but I just wanted you to know that people are facing that direction and just give a little bit of highlights. And then just have the background fade off as much as I can to black. It was way, way too bright over here. So I had to temper that quite a bit relative to the scene over here. And I feel like black and white works well because, again, we have a mixed sources of lighting. Obviously these street lamps are different than the street lamps here. And then this guy has his own lighting of some kind. So there's just too much mixed lighting, creating too many white balance issues for me that just make it look messy in terms of color. So going to black and white, I think, worked best. So if we just do the slider, I think we're good. I think that came out pretty nice. And I think the vertical crop works better because, again, there's just too much weird things. The light here is too strong as well. I think right in here worked best. And then since this is a high ISO kind of deal, they just wanted to see what we could recover, I guess. I think it came out pretty good, relatively speaking. Okay. Um, very nice. All right. So I see William is here. Good, William. I hope you like my edit of your bus. And Jeff Painter, good to see you. Larry, good morning. Uh, why is my camera black? There we go. And Ethan, good to see you. Thank you so much, Ethan, for your donation yesterday. I really appreciate that. You're so generous. Uh, and you saw a falling star. That's cool, Larry. And let's see. Paul is here. And Chuck, good to see you. The entire F4 Trinity is amazing. Yeah. We were talking about the 12 to 45, the 40 to 150. Um, what's the other F4 they have? The 8 to 25, right? Yeah, those are all great lenses. Man, you can do everything with those three lenses, right? And you guys are talking about something about a comet. I haven't looked into that. So Paul, good to see you. Really long time. Many of you have been here a long time, so I really appreciate it. And you go 16 by 9 because of the empty sky. Yeah, I think I ended up with a 16 by 9, right? On this one. I think that's what you're talking about, this image. Okay. I'm sorry, you can't see that. I was looking at the bus. I think that's a 16 by 9. So we had a lot, a lot of the same thought there. And Walter's here. Hey, Walter, how's it going? And Walter says, I feel like the building is the canvas for showing off the warm, low light. Yep. You and I had the same thought there, but you articulated it better than I did. And the style of the building also provides context for location and culture. Yes, definitely. And Larry says the was built in the 1930s as a hotel and is now a visitor center. Oh, that's cool. And Intrigue is here. Good to see you. And Larry's waiting for a sunset. Cool. And Walter asks, on a bus silhouette, would a Lumimask help adjustments to the dark regions? Yeah, I could have done a Lumimask. Uh, trying to think. I guess that would have worked just as well. Because if we go back to this image, well, not the one I edit, the raw image. The way I would do a Lumimask would probably be just use a control line, right? Just bring that all the way up, and that's essentially a Lumimask. I can tighten it up a little bit like that, and then just pull it in. Pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I did touch on the clouds a little bit, so I'll just bring this down, and that would do it. Okay. There's also a Lumimask in the special effects tab, but this is I'm sorry, there's a Lumimask here that I could use as well, but this is only available if you purchase Film Pack. So I try not to use it in my demos of Photolab because if you don't have Film Pack installed, then you wouldn't have these two tools here, the Lumimask and uh that might be yeah, this is the Hue mask, which is color, and then this is the Lumimask, which is brightness. But you can do pretty much the same thing with the control line. There's a Luma mask right in here. Um, the Luma masking tool is better, but you can get pretty close just using the tools already provided. A nice edit of the silhouette. Oh, thank you, Walter. And Rob, can I send another one? Yeah, sure. Send it on in, William. And John follows. Good to see you. And William says 12 to 100. Oh, the 12 to 100 F4. So there's the 12 to 100, but that overlaps the 12 to 45. So that's why I didn't think about it. I was thinking 8 to 25, 12 to 45, minimal overlap there, and then 40 to 150. That would be a great trinity there. And then throw on the 300 f4. But the 12 to 100, if you get the 12 to 100, then you might as well just go with the 40 to 150 from there, but there's so much overlap there. That 12 to 100 is kind of a standalone lens, isn't it? All right. Whoops. All right, so we have a horse here from Paul. Nice portrait. Horizon's a little crooked, potentially, unless it's on a hill. And so I think I'll brighten the eyes. I think I see a little bit of brown in here. Let me just apply basic preset first. Let me just entertain this idea. No, I think I'll stick with color. I like it. It's very pastel-y. So I might lean into that a little bit. I just need to just straighten a little bit. And then let's temper the sky a little bit. So I'm going to put a tighter luma. No, that's not working too well. Maybe just shift the white balance a little bit. Give it some color. And maybe make it a little pastel-y. I'm going with very strong shifts in white balance because I want color in there. And I want to pick a color that I think should go well with the rest of the scene. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. And then let's try an AI mask. So I'll just rectangle this horse. Hopefully it doesn't crash. There we go. That's pretty good. All right. Uh, you can kind of add in the rest there. And then some micro contrast to bring out a little bit of detail. And then we'll do a linear push. Let's go about 1.5 stops. And we'll go back to the global and then we'll pull maybe a stop. Yeah, right about there. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of variance to the sky up here. Let me go back to this mask. We don't need that shift quite as much anymore. Let me go the other way and then go back up here. We'll just pull back. Oh, man, I'm not doing too good a job here. All right, let me see what I can do with the eyes. Okay, we'll leave the highlights off. All right, and then a little bit of glow in the ears. And then maybe a vignette. And I'm going to try some different color palettes here. I think that one looks best. There's some very subtle changes. And then the leather, I don't know if I can separate this out enough. It's mostly red, so let's just shift here. Slight shift on the reds. Okay. And then this eye, just gonna pull that back. Okay, I think that's it. So, uh, okay. One last thing. Let's let's balance the foreground and background a bit more. Okay. All right. I think composition, I think we're okay. Maybe, what if we did, mm, Yeah, no, I think I think the original, the way we had it, is fine. Maybe just a tiny bit tighter. Okay, let's see how that looks. Let's see. Oh, Paul said it is a slope in the background. Yeah, the horse looks crooked now, right? Because I tried to straighten the horizon a bit, but what I based my line on was this fence line here. I don't know if it's straight or not, but uh, that's what I tried to match. And the horizon is still a little bit crooked, but these fence lines, I think, should be straight. But okay, let's do a side by side. So yeah, here's the edit on the left, and here's the original. So yeah, basically all I did was just brighten the horse a little bit, right? Added a little bit more warm light here in the corner for motivation, and brighten the eyes as well. Um, if you zoom in, you can see I didn't want to make it too bright like it was a glowing eye, but I definitely wanted to see the color, like the little bit of brown that's in there. And then, again, the detail that came out is really good. So, and then also I accentuated the reds in the leather strap, as you can see, if you compare these side by side. Uh, and I think that came out okay. I'm not completely happy with this warmer color up in the corner, but overall, I like the lighting and I like the colors in general, and the details that came out. And when animals have very prominent ears, like horses and rabbits and squirrels, I always try to highlight those. So with these kinds of animals, it's always eyes, sometimes a nose, but eyes and ears are kind of the main things that I try to accentuate. And then there's little accents in the picture. In this case, it's the leather strap. So I tried to accentuate that. So, ears, eyes, and strap were the elements that I wanted to accentuate. Uh, and then everything else is very, very subjective from there, in terms of, the lighting and the color, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. But I think that came out pretty good. Um, and just real quick, Walter says, on the horse picture, could you combine a background mask with a Luma mask? Uh, so I assume the idea being you wanted me to, can I just apply a Luma mask to the background? Uh, yeah, I mean, the entire background separate from the horse, like including the grass and the sky. Yeah, and I effectively did that, I think. I'm not sure exactly what you're wanting to do edit wise by combining a Luma mask with the background. But I feel like I highlighted the horse here, so now he's separate from the background, and then I can just darken the background. But the brightness between the horse and the sky is very similar in terms of luminosity. So uh, I wouldn't be able to separate the background with the Luma mask. I have to use some sort of subject detect or AI detect to separate the horse from the background. All right. Uh, Sorry, let's go to the next one. Okay, so let's do a basic preset, and I'm just going to straighten this a bit, like so. We have really strong greens. What's going on here? ISO 8000. The colors are just kind of a little bit weird to me. Let's leave that on natural. And for white balance, I'll just pick somewhere in here. It's not much white there. How about the gray? Okay. And the exposures, it's a bit overexposed. Whenever I shoot herons, great blue herons, I always underexpose at least one stop, like I dial in exposure comp about -1 stop or sometimes 2 stops because every time I take a picture of a great blue heron, the whites here clip otherwise. So just a little tip if you're shooting these guys, try to underexpose at least one, if not 2 stops. And this it depends on the lighting. In this case, I think about yeah, I would have done probably -2 stops and then edited in post processing and brought it back up. Okay, so let's go to about right there. And let's do a square crop like so. And then I'm going to add a vignette because I know we definitely want that. So I'm just going to do that first. So we'll invert that. Let me try it this way. Okay, it's good. Then I don't know if I can select bird here, like so. And I'm going to just add a little micro contrast to it. Here it is. And then I'm going to let's do a new mask right around the eye. Whoops, it's too big. Just want that yellow to be a little bit brighter. Maybe just give it a little more vibrancy. There, and the same thing with the beak. Okay. And a little bit of red in there. We can do that. Let's do that with a new control point. And tighten up the chroma. Just push the vibrancy there and there. Like so. And let's fix the feet so we can see those. Uh, need to brighten the image a bit first. Let's do this. A bit tighter. Wrong panel. I need to be in this panel. All right, there we go. Okay. Just come out a little bit more. Okay, then let's bring this back down. I was around 1.5. Okay, we're almost there. Maybe a little bit more work on the legs. Let me go back in here. Just we'll touch a little bit in here. Okay. Um, maybe one more spot of brightening up here. Tighten up the chroma and just add just a little bit there. Tiny bit of warmth. And I'm gonna go, let me try something different. I'm gonna go up to 60 and then go to the global, just do a little bit negative, about 30. Mm, oops, whoops, stop it. All right, go down here and do a little bit more. I'm gonna use the loop tool. I just want to inspect the finer detail here. A little bit of motion blur, tiny bit. Okay, let's go to here. See if we can optimize this just a tiny bit more. Okay. I'm gonna do a little unsharp mask as well. All right. Let me export this and see how this looks. Okay, not bad. So, I think the edits kind of speak for themselves. I just darken the back, I just darken the image basically, then tweak the contrast and things. Uh, but yeah, I think that came up pretty nice. And if we want a pixel peep, this is not a great pixel peeper image because there's a little bit of motion blur, but we definitely got rid of a lot of the softness. We can see a lot more detail in this wing that doesn't have as much motion blur. And certainly in all the leaves and everything, they came out much better. But yeah, this wing here is definitely got some motion blur, and this one a little less so. And I pushed the noise reduction probably a little bit too much, but so if I edit this again, I'll probably back it off a little bit. But the main takeaway here is, blue herons, -1, -2, straight out of camera. And then this would have been a little bit better, easier to edit. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, Dan, you're here. Taken with the taken from a boat. Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. Uh, but I've been shooting much higher shutter speeds, like 1/4000, even 1/6400 shutter speeds. If I can, if I'm in good light. I think based on the conditions you had, the only thing you could have done differently is uh, if you're shooting in manual, you could let me see what you're shooting in. You're in manual mode. So you could have shot it like 1/4000 or even 1/6000 of a second to bring the exposure down, and that would have froze the motion a little more, right? Based on your settings here. So full manual. ISO, I don't know if you're an auto ISO or not, but you would have had to you could have lowered your ISO, say, to 4000 and then did 1/4000th on the shutter speed, but that's a lot to ask on the fly, right? Anyway, if you were locked in on ISO, you could have just moved your shutter speed to 1/4000th or 1/6000th, and I think that would have been oh, you were in auto ISO? Oh, okay, then uh with auto ISO, you would have had to dial in -1 or -2 exposure comp, and I would have still raised my shutter speed to 1/4000th though. Okay. It's tricky though. I've been there. Every week I do the same thing, right? I analyze my shots and think, geez, what could have I done just a little bit better uh, on the exposure? Okay. Let's see. We have that's an interesting statue. It's almost like this girl is sitting in a ring. Hmm. Well, this has to be black and white, and then we should probably lean in on the dappling of the light. Uh, so it's going to be too hard to minimize that. So let me just do a basic preset. Pretty sure this is going to be a black and white. And let's go to balanced. Okay. Composition, I feel like a little torn. What if we do kind of like this one leg? I like the hand here. It's just the light right here is a little bit of a pain, but that's where it's coming from. So no, maybe, maybe a 4 by 3. We'll just leave it. Ah, all right. Wow, this one's tough. Let's maybe color will be the way to go because there's just too much going on in black and white. It's natural. Just pull out a little bit more green. We're at 12. Let's go to 30. We're at 5,000. Let's try 6,000. And then I'm going to try and temper, see if I can temper that a bit. Not really. Let's do, I'm going to take a chance here. Uh, let's, let's do this and try something else. Okay. Yeah, that's too much, but maybe something like that. Oh, come on. Let's try that one more time. Opacity and flow. This and a brush. Yeah. It's a little bit off this tree. A little bit off there. I'm just erasing a little bit of this blur. Definitely here. And the pole. I get it. Yeah, I got the pole. There we go. All right. Let's see where we're at. Let's do. All right. I think that's it. Uh, let's just do a side by side because this is pretty low ISO. But yeah, here's the original. This was a tough one. Uh, how do I separate this statue from the background? And I really tried to do it with just lighting, but ultimately I had to go with like a fake bokeh. But I think it came out okay. So and a vertical composition I think works. I like the idea maybe you're going for here with the framing with the trees, but there's just so much. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. So I just decided to try to separate her. Just using the background being blurry. So I think that came out okay. All right. Wow, that was hard, but I think that was all right. Okay. Uh, we'll do this one, and then someone said they sent one in. So let's see. This one, I hope the horizon is crooked and this house isn't sinking. Let's do a basic preset, and I don't know if just the perspective correction will work. Yeah, that worked. Uh, hmm. Trying to find some composition in here. I mean, I like this tree line. I don't like this fence right here, or it's the house itself, because I do like this fence and the trees. I just don't like this house, I think. Hmm. Couple of birds over here, or maybe sheep. Yeah, that's probably sheep. All right, so maybe we don't need all of this. 'Cause there's just nothing over here that's that interesting. Of course, I like the tree over here. I like this whole tree line. So maybe I don't need the fence. Hmm. Okay, that works. That seems to have the best balance. All right. And then let's use a little tighter chroma and just try to hit some of the yellows and a little bit of vibrancy. There. Then let's do some for the greens. Okay, get a spot there. This grass needs its own fodder. Okay, and this background, I wonder if I can select that. Yeah, let's select that. And tough call here what to do, but let me think. They just a touch there. Hmm. Okay. And then just something like that. Okay, now let's work on the house. Particularly this roof line. Let's see if we can bring out a little more detail. Oops, no. Okay, so far so good. And we'll soften up everything. And maybe just a big old vignette right here. Okay, let's see. All right, almost there. Just need a little bit less contrast.
Someone was detected at your driveway.
Um, that roof line, just needs a little bit of extra. Okay. No, I think it's my cable tester came in. I got a lot of stuff in this week. All right, I think that'll do it. So let's export that, and then we'll do a side by side. Now, this was a little tough. These were all really hard today. I don't know why. All right, so yeah, there's the original over here. It's crooked. So the first thing I had to do was straighten it, and then I just went with a little wider crop. There's just too much back here. Um, and then I softened the image up a bit, but and added contrast by just making the greens a lot darker, right? I might have overdone it a little bit, but I just wanted the image to have a little bit of punch, but at the same time a little bit of softness. So I hope that that makes sense. Whew, boy, that was tough. Who sent that? John? My God, John. That was hard. I don't know why that was so hard for me. But anyhow, let me check the let me check if anything else came in. So I think I remember somebody said they were going to send something in. Okay, I see three new ones here. Well, two. All right. So let me download these. There we go. Almost there. All right. And then Paul.
Someone was detected at your driveway.
Oh, it's not a delivery. It's my neighbor. She's doing something in her grass. Okay. So Paul sent in his edit of the horse. So let's take a look at that. So we'll do set that as a reference. I'm gonna have this set as a reference. Oh, very nice. Very nice, Paul. You went with a much softer look. I like that. But you did bring out the eye very nicely. I like your edit better, as usual. Very nice. Because mine is a little bit too crispy when I look at your edit. Yours is very soft, much more pleasant. Okay, and then this one here needs to be edited. I see your edit here. You just picked one bird out. That's interesting. I like the lighting though. Uh, so let me do a basic preset and so these birds are just flying off this fence line, I think. Or maybe they were on the grass and coming out. But I'm leaning towards maybe trying to use this green roof. And let's go. Okay. And then go black and white, balanced. Definitely going to add a vignette. Maybe over here. Let's do it this way. Okay. And then let's do some touches on the bird. Not too dissimilar from what you did in the sense of just adding a few highlights to the wings. This wing needs a little more. And a little bit more here. Okay. Then let's do a new mask.
Someone was detected at your driveway.
And just kind of do the same thing. I'm just going to blur the background just a tiny bit more. And then let's select bird. Whoops. I need the rectangle tool. Yeah. And then another one here. Another one here. Punch those out. Okay. Just a touch more brightness, maybe. Okay. I think that'll do it. So let's export that. Okay. Let's see. I need to. There it is. All right. So there's the original here. It's a little bit of haloing here on the bird that I need to correct for. But other than that, this is the general look I was going for. And Alexa, stop. Sorry. Uh, I think that looks good, considering these are butt shots, right, of a bird. Other than a little bit of haloing that I need to fix, that's the overall look I want to go for. And just blurring the background a little bit extra with some high contrast. So uh, let's compare yours to mine. So I'll set that as a reference. So I think you did an excellent job editing that one bird, uh, but it's kind of it's a butt shot. So I feel like adding a little context of them taking off from this fence line and having a pair of them was a little better composition. Uh, if if the bird was turned around and flying towards you, then yeah, this composition that you did, I think, would make more sense. But I feel like this is a little better for me anyway. Okay. Uh, there was one new one that came in, I think, right? Yeah, this one. Let's Let's see. I can do one more. Wow, look at this. That's a wide scene. So let's do a preset and perspective correction. And I don't think I need to crop. I like to keep everything in here. This is I love these kind of pictures. So the question is, do we make it look a little vintagey or touristy? Hmm. Let me see if I try to go full on with this like this. This is a very vintage look, right? Kind of film stock. Uh let's do color and do portrait two. I think William says film color maybe. Um I have film pack installed, but I know some generic these generic ones are included with DxO Photolab, but these down here are film pack installations. But these up here, I kind of like the Kodachrome 64. And let me just set the white balance to 5,000. Maybe let's see, daylight versus the original. Yeah, the original looks better. Okay, that might be it actually. Oops, I can probably make it a little warmer. If I turn off my selective tone adjustments, I think that's it. So we have kind of a touristy, old-timey photo look, I think. Because what I like about this, you could print this large and really get some have a really interesting picture where you can just kind of stare at it for like a half an hour and try and find all of the little details that are in this picture, right? So that's what I would do. I would print this large and then just stand there for like a half an hour, and just look at everything, or just look at it a little bit every day, and you'll find something new. I think as you're going around, I think this would be really cool. This would be a really cool, like large print, and have something you can kind of look at every day and find something different. So yeah, not I wouldn't change much here other than just making it look kind of vintage. All right, we're gonna call it there. So uh hi, Rob. I've been using DxO since 10 years now in version 6. The price change they made this year is insane. They are asking for much more than Adobe for a full photo suite. No way. Yeah, I think they're I didn't really look because since I think since Photolab 6 or 7, they started giving them to me because I do these streams. I originally paid, I think, 180 or 160. I don't know, what is it now? Isn't it like 220 or 230? It's a good, let me check. So the current price, let's see, buy now. So it's 240. And if you wait for a discount, like the best discount I've seen so far is 20%. So that would make this like $48 off, right? So you'd be closer to 192. And since you're on Photolab 6, you don't qualify for the upgrade, right? Because they only upgrade two versions. You might qualify for the upgrade, but I'm not sure. So we're talking on any given day, you can get a 15% discount. So, we're still at 200 bucks. I don't know. That's about right. I think that's what that seems about right to me for software. But I don't remember. In the UK, they want 110. Yeah, but always wait for the discount. Lately they've only been doing like 30% on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I remember it's probably 3 years ago, maybe four, they did 50% off. I haven't seen that since. The best I've seen since then is like 30% off Photolab. They've had other deals where if you package things together, you got a better deal. Uh, I don't remember exactly what that was, but if you wanted to get like Nick Collection and Photolab together, it was a lot cheaper with the discounts and on coupons than it was to buy them separately at 20% off, something like that. But yeah, generally the best deal I'm seeing is maybe 30%, maybe next month. We'll see that. And that might be the time if you still want to get it. But I don't remember. I remember it was under 200, just under $200 when I bought it back when it was DxO4, if I remember correctly. And there was a coupon, so I paid 150 or 160. So we're here 5 years later and it's 240. It feels about right. And I think it's worth it personally. But Photolab 6 is really good, right? Because it has the new DxO wide gamut. It also has a really good deep prime denoising engine already. The only thing it doesn't really do quite as well uh, is some of the workflow with the control points and things. But, ultimately, you'll get probably 90% of the image quality from Photolab 6 as you will from Photolab 9 in terms of output. So, uh, it's just the workflow is a little bit different, right? From Photolab 6 to what it is now, Photolab 9. Never mind the AI tools, that's a separate thing. Uh, but everything else, I think image quality, you can get pretty much 90, if not 95% of the image quality out of DxO Photolab 6 as you can Photolab 9. It's just the workflow is different. And if you're already used to that workflow, it's not a big deal, right? Okay. Rome Picture OM3 handheld, amazing. Yeah. I edited the same setting, generic. The only difference is cooler white. Oh, that's hilarious. So you did the same thing I did, right? That picture kind of just lends itself to that kind of look, though. But that was a great picture. And then Paul says film pack is very expensive for what it is. I would agree, I think. I don't recall how much it is. 150 bucks. Yeah, that at most that should be a $99 software in my opinion. So you really have to wait for the discounts and deals for these other things. Um, Nick Collection is really good though. I like Nick Collection. I think I would get Nick Collection instead of Film Pack because you get a lot more with Nick Collection and you get film simulations. They don't match the Film Pack simulations, because I've compared like Kodachrome and film, whatever the film stock was, but they had very similar film stocks in the two, but they don't match at all. And getting a film look is, really hard anyway to get it to look really like film. I think Film Pack is about as close as you're going to get of all the different Film Pack softwares out there, but uh, because I get emails and things constantly about promoting Nick Collection and Film Pack because Film Pack is new, I think, right? They're up to Film Pack 8 and Pure Raw, but I only really use Photolab and time to time I use Nick Collection. The film packs, I just rather get my own look rather than trying to mimic a film stock, which is virtually impossible anyway. So for you and I, Paul, I would agree, from our point of view, it's a little bit expensive. I wouldn't mind having it. Like I have it, okay, they send it to me, but uh I would buy it if it was like 25, $30, right? But it's just not worth it to me because I wouldn't use it even when they give it to me for free, I don't use it. That's the thing, right? So if they're asking $150, that's definitely too much. Uh, but some people like that kind of stuff. So, but I can't, you know, like I have trouble promoting or talking about Film Pack 8 because I just don't use it. It doesn't interest me. But I love Photolab. I really like Nick Collection. And of course, Pure Raw is an extension of Photolab, right? For just denoising and stuff. So if you have your own editing software, but you like the denoising algorithm, Pure Raw 5 is really good. And then Viewpoint is very, very specialized. Man, you have to be hardcore. You have to have some hardcore, like very specific applications where you would use Viewpoint to make geometry corrections and perspective corrections on a regular basis because it does have some unique tools that that go beyond the perspective corrections that we have in Photolab, but not enough that I would need it. There's nothing. Even though I do architectural photography, I can't think of too many applications that I would need that software. But okay, um, so you paid the 110 to go from 7 to 9. I wish they would give discounts to existing users, right? Like on the upgrades. Like, why not give 15% off on the upgrades? But uh, yeah, I think last year they didn't even have updates for the upgrades. They only did updates on brand new software like Photolab, Film Pack, Nick Collection. Um, yeah, I guess they're not. They're doing well. They're doing well enough that they don't have to heavily discount like they did in the beginning because there was always like 40, 50% off back in the day, right? When we were on DxO Photolab 4, 5, 6. But then somehow when we got to 7, 8, 9, the best I've seen is 30%, like on Black Friday time frame. And then we had the 20% at launch, which was very unusual. DxO Photolab just came out and they were giving 20% off for just for a few days, right? But you know, that was a good deal. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for sending your images. I always like a challenge, and you guys really challenged me today. I hope you like the edits that I did, and maybe picked up a few ideas on how to use Photolab 9 as well. And as always, thanks for being here and watching. If you didn't submit any images, and I'll be back on Sunday, God willing, with with a regular photo chat. So you guys eat healthy and exercise, and we'll see you again soon.